Hey everybody, it's Joe. Thank you for watching this special 3 years of construction at Giga Texas video. Starting back in July 2020 with the initial construction, we then moved to the growth phase in July 2021. Then we saw the start of production in 2022, and now we have the expansion in 2023. There's been a lot to see, a lot to document over the last 3 years here at Giga Texas, and the Quad Squad has helped bring all of these images and updates to a worldwide audience. You may be wondering, so who are the Quad Squad? Well, that's a very good question, and Jeff Roberts from the Quad Squad summed it up nicely in this short 2020 video.
And a lot of the information I'm going to share with you is from the Quad Squad. The Quad Squad is 4 YouTube drone pilots that cover Iterative, Texas, and they are me, Jeff Roberts, Joe Tetmeyer, whose channel is Joe Tetmeyer, and then we've got Randy from Gigafactory Texas, and Jack from Texas Terrafactory, and the 4 of us decided to coordinate just for safety and for maintaining our investment so we don't crash into each other flying the site all the time. And then we became friends and we started trading information and screenshots, and before you know it, we've got like a whole kind of brain trust going with the site. So we all kind of benefit each other with what we each individually learn, we bring to the table, so that way everybody can benefit from the information. And so a lot of what I'm going to share today is from the Quad Squad, so thank you in advance, Joe, Jack, and Randy, for all of your friendship.
Thanks, Jeff, for that great introduction. So let's get into the interview. All right, well, back here again at Giga Texas with another member of the Quad Squad, the one and only Jeff Roberts, and I know that many of you have been watching his channel for quite some time. He actually predates me by maybe a couple of days out here. So he's pretty much the one of the OGs of the Quad Squad. But in case people watching here don't know you, talk me a little bit about who you are, why you got involved here, and a little bit about your YouTube channel as well.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks for having me here, Joe. This is great. Love getting reunited with the Quad Squad guys. So this has been just a wonderful afternoon. So basically, I grew up in Detroit around a lot of cars. My brother was a car enthusiast, had 11 cars before he was graduated from high school. I always hung around the car guys, and it was just a thing in the Detroit area that you did. Spent my adult life in California, and then we decided to move to Texas for a variety of reasons, but when we got here, we heard that Tesla might be putting a Gigafactory in Austin, and I thought, oh man, wouldn't that just be perfect? Hey, it's Jeff from Texas, and I just got confirmation that Elon and crew with Tesla are building the Gigafactory here in Austin. It's all over the news here locally in Austin, and yesterday I went out to the Gigafactory site, or possibly Terrafactory site, and was confronted by security, had a little chat, and confirmed that yes, indeed, Tesla is building, and now we know from the news outlets that this is the case. So welcome Elon, welcome Tesla to Austin. You are going to do great here and do great things for not only the Austin area, but for America and the world at large, as well as the Del Valley ISD. So on that buzz, you know, people like Jack, he was the first one out here in June of 2020, and he was cruising around kind of, you know, trying to see, is this going to be the place? Is this the place? And it turned out, yes, this was the place. And so I came out here probably near the end of June and did an iPhone video and just put it on my channel, which was my personal channel with my son's t-ball games on it, and you know, nothing that any of you guys wanted to see, right? Hey, it's Jeff in Austin, and we are on our way to the Tesla Gigafactory, or Terrafactory, Austin, and this is the site where construction has begun. This was a trip I took on Saturday, the 18th of July 2020, to the Martin Marietta Green facility. This is a sand and gravel mine, and you see a lot of Martin Marietta cement mixers coming out of there. Now right there, look to the right, That's some survey gear. So I was thinking Saturday, this is before I knew 100% that Tesla was coming. We learned that in the Q2 earnings report. But I came up on this and I was thinking, what is a Tesla from New York doing in the middle of a field in Texas? Because remember, at this point in time, we didn't have a lock. We were thinking about Tulsa and what's going on in Tulsa. Why did Elon visit Tulsa? But now we know 100% we're here. So now that Tesla made a lot more sense. It looks like maybe a signpost like turn here, because it was just kind of open dirt roads. And here we have maybe about 10 cars positioned in a clearing in the middle of this field. And how can we see it? Well, lo and behold, you can see it right off the freeway. There's no fence or wall or anything built as of right now. Here we go. This is it. This is the future Tesla Giga, probably Terafactory Austin. And look at all these excavators. I'm slowing this footage down so you can really get a good peek at this area, as this is one of the first videos that I'm aware of this area being worked on after Tesla's announcement at the Q2 earnings call. So now we're in full speed. It looks like, you know, I can't compare with Berlin or with Shanghai, but I have to say, man, this is really fast. Look at all these excavators, and you're going to see a few of them. Here's one right here. Let me speed this up to normal speed. That's how fast these guys were flying around this construction site. I mean, I don't know if that translates on video, but I felt like they were going as fast as I was, and I was on the freeway. So it's just really exciting to see some dirt being moved around, creating the beginning stages of the brand new Tesla factory.
And so everybody thought, oh man, we want to see this factory being built. You know, we've seen Shanghai, we've seen Berlin. So, you know, everybody wants to see the grand factory, Giga Texas, later to become the HQ of Tesla. So this was the one. And so I thought, okay, these viewers are asking me to do drone flights, so I'll get a drone and I'll start doing flights. And in my normal extremist way, I thought, you know, let me just do every day, because it seems like there's so much progress, like every day I come out here, that I think if you skip a day, you're gonna miss some major stuff. So that was the original premise of my channel. It's like, let's not miss a thing. And then also what factored in was, I knew I was gonna be busy with my business and with my life. So I wanted to kind of do a more mindless type of flight, so that way we could compare flight paths and see, you know, what changed since the last video. And so I did the exact same flight as much as I could. I mean, there's so much dynamic elements to the site and things being moved and decisions being made that things do change. So the flight path did kind of morph over time. But in general, I try to keep it exactly the same, so that we can look from one video to the next, what has changed, what got moved, what happened, you know, where's this now? It was over here before, and now it's over here. Why? You know, putting two and two together. And so that's kind of the genesis of my channel, and we did it every day, I think almost 2 years. And now I'm doing it weekly, so we'll see. We might have to go back to the extreme, because there's a lot going on now. So with the battery packs and just a lot of exciting things going on.
So when you started your channel, though, you had a longer term kind of view of what you wanted to do with the footage.
Yeah, so Joe's gonna out me here. And the original plan was to create a master time lapse that started with flat Earth, that look like the surface of the moon, and start flying around the factory. And as we fly, the factory is being slowly built below you. And by the time we get all the way around 360 degrees around the factory, it's done. So that was the original concept of flying the same path every day, day in, day out, so that we could do that. Now, eventually, that will get done either by my hand, or if somebody volunteers out in the community, you've got some editing chops, and you want to participate and be part of it, I welcome you to let me know, and we can talk.
All right, well, cool. Well, if that actually does happen, I think that'd be really cool to see.
I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, but I think the only flaw in your plan is you said when it's done.
Yeah, so that's been my out so far for not doing it, is because, well, the factory's not done.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, like Jack said, it's probably not going to be done ever. The iteration process is just going to continue on and on and on. So you almost have to just pick a point in time and declare for yourself, it's done enough for me for this purpose. So I haven't declared that yet, but maybe it's soon.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll
I
see.
agree. So let's talk a little bit about when you first came out here and you, for the very first time, looked on this site. What were your real thoughts?
What the hell? I've never witnessed any kind of construction, like hasn't been a thing for me, so I really knew nothing about it. The first thing I see besides just bumpy earth is a few of these excavators and earth movers, and it seemed like the earth movers were going like 80 miles an hour. They were just like hauling, and I remember thinking, man, they're going faster than me and I'm on the freeway. So they started out of the gate with a bang, and I thought, well, maybe there is hope that this factory can actually happen. I mean, just how fast they're going at the very beginning, that was a good indicator. And I also had gotten in contact with the city, or maybe it was the county, but anyway, somebody with Austin who was, doing the permitting process, and they basically said, we've never seen a construction project, large or small, progress at this fast of a rate. So it was new just in Texas. I mean, so it looked fast to me, but I wasn't sure until I talked to that person, then he qualified it. So, but that was probably, my very first thought is, what is this? And my second thought was, well, I think it's possible. So that's kind of how it started, and it became very attractive to come out here, because it's like, what else am I going to see that changes my mind into thinking, okay, this is for sure going to happen. But it happened pretty quickly. Yeah. We were all convinced.
Well, that brings up an interesting point, and as we talk also about Giga Mexico getting ready to be built, I think one of the biggest differences that in Giga Texas's standpoint they actually benefited from is, as you mentioned, your first day that you were out here, there was already earthwork. There was something going on out here, and they hadn't quite made the announcement, or they were about to make the announcement, and work was already going on, at least preliminary work.
Yep.
That suggests that a lot of pre-work had already been done, a lot of permitting, a lot of working with the city and the county councils. There was a lot more going on under the table before the actual announcement here to allow that to happen. Then I think what we're seeing at Giga Mexico, because Giga Mexico, they announced it, but then they started talking about they needed to get the permits. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's taking them so much longer to get started once the announcement, as you compare to Giga Texas.
Yeah, but also I think it's part of Tesla culture. We've seen it in Germany, where they won't have the permit in hand yet, but they're pretty confident in the process, so they'll go ahead and start the project, knowing full well that they have to bear the full cost of reversing that if, for whatever reason, the permit gets denied. So I've kind of seen a pattern of that with Tesla, so I'd be surprised if they were delayed too long. Maybe, in Mexico it's a little bit different. I mean, obviously every country is different. I'm not familiar with Mexico construction and permitting processes at all, but I would imagine it would probably be about on par with the United States, which is, obviously much worse than places like China, where once they give you the green light, you can pretty much go pedal to the metal. Yeah. Which I think accounts for a large degree why Shanghai factory got up and running so quickly. But again, is the Mexican plant going to be as big as this?
Some people say it's going to be as big or bigger, but I think they're conflating the size of the land mass versus the factory.
Yeah.
But in any case, it's going to be quite large. Now there is something interesting that brings up, is that Giga Shanghai had some renderings. Giga Berlin had renderings. Giga Mexico has renderings, but Giga Texas never had renderings of anything initially. And that actually created some very interesting things. For example, I think you were the first one to start imagining what a rendering might be like. So talk about that.
Yeah, well, I was involved in the entertainment business back in California, and so I had a 3D artist who could, render anything you wanted.
And so I commissioned him to basically render what we thought the building would look like.
Is going to be a lot of docks? No. There's this big driveway through the middle, and there's also a smaller driveway. It widens to, I'm going to guess, about 25 feet because the third building is notched. Please chime in, and if you are an expert, yeah, let's all be the community brain here and put it all together collectively as a group.
And then we would overlay it on. I gave him my flight path, and he put it into his system, and then he created a little wraparound shot of the virtual factory, you know, on the factory at grounds.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it didn't look like a Hollywood production because I don't have Hollywood budgets, but it was pretty cool to kind of visualize it and kind of play around with what might this factory look like, you know. But
so how accurate were you?
We were kind of accurate on the diamond. We got the diamond shape because Elon was talking about that, and you know, the north facing, all that. But we put the big red Tesla stripe on and the logo and all of that, like the other factories. So we were, you know, wrong on that so far.
Well, you never know. They were putting the white stain on, so we might see that.
Yeah.
But at one point, you had 3 individual buildings out here. So talk about that.
Well, that was my breaking news moment where I thought I was rolling out some new information about Giga Texas. Is actually a combination of 3 separate buildings that are all going to be connected, you know, with a roof and so forth. So it's going to look like one building in the end, but it's really 3 separate buildings with 2 roadways running through. And that was based on some original plans that were filed with the city. And so I just kind of 3-dimensionalized that and talked about it in a video, and you know, got up real early in the morning to be the first one to post because, you know, you got to compete with the quad.
Exactly.
And but yeah, it turned out to be fiction.
Today, Joe Tetmeyer sent me a text, probably around 7 a.m., revealing that the Tesla site plan for Giga Texas was out. And so I've spent some time taking a look. Now we can clearly see there's 3 buildings on this main property that's being leveled currently. I'm calling them building 1, starting on the building closest to the 130. This is on the east side of the 130. 1,757,775 square feet. So that's the first. So 1.7 million square feet. Building number 2 is the smallest, just under 1 million square feet at 900,937.5 square feet. And then building number 3 is just over 1 million at 1,063,900. And so altogether, the 3 buildings are 3,722,612.5 square feet. So that's 3.7 million square feet, roughly, of factory space.
You know, like a lot of things, I mean, you know, things changed, but it was just fun kind of looking at it that way and seeing those 3 separate, you know, seemingly separate structures, but it could just been my interpretation of building plans. And hey, I'm not a building planner, so maybe what I'm looking at is not what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when we were talking to Randy earlier from the Quad Squad, is there was this persistent idea that there was going to be a roadway in the factory somewhere. So we all kept sort of imagining where the roadway would be and how it would look.
Yeah, we kept forcing whatever we were seeing into, oh, that must be for the road, or you know, that must be where the road's going to go. And I don't know if the trucks are going to be able to make it through there, so maybe it's going to go around here. But yeah, so that was a thing for a minute, but you know, it's always fun in the comment section. There's always something going on that is not completely fully agreed on, and that makes it kind of a fun adventure.
Yeah, well, it inspired a lot of commentary for sure, and a lot of interest on the viewers. Now, speaking of fun, I mean, Giga Texas isn't all about just construction and everything, but you had a little fun with early on with something called the, I don't know, swamp creature? Tell me about that.
Yeah, the amphibious excavator, Swampy. So this is the first time I've ever seen an amphibious excavator, which is this thing with these big pontoons on the bottom, looks like a cartoon character, and it actually goes into the water and does its digging from the water. So in the northwest section of the property were all these swamps, and it stunk. It was awful.
Actually, right behind us.
Yeah, it's right out of view, I think.
Yeah.
But so Swampy would be in here, and part of the charm of Swampy was every time I caught him on camera, he was literally doing not much, just kind of slow motion or no motion, if any, and I would try to do a time lapse to see, okay, let me get some motion into this scene, and it just not a lot happening. And then I'd come the next day, and Swampy had cleared out half the swamp. I was like, oh my gosh, how did he do that? So it was just kind of the contrast that made him into a cult figure for a little while on the channel, and then the Quad Squad got in on it, and we made some t-shirts, which I'm not wearing.
Yeah.
And so that was a lot of fun and a learning experience for me to learn what an amphibious excavator was.
Yeah, well, and Swamp Creature was out here for the first many months because there was just so much ponds that they needed to get rid of.
Yeah, it was garbage out here for a long time.
Yeah. Well, very cool. So what's an early memory that really stands out to you from your coverage here at Giga Texas?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me that is probably when I got a cease and desist to never fly over Giga Texas again.
Yeah, so when did that happen, and what was sort of the circumstances?
So that was, I think, about 2 or 3 months into flying, and we'd always gotten occasional visits from security when flying, usually up in this area to my left was our normal spot initially when everything was flat enough to get around the site. And we'd get a visit, and it would end up in one of two ways. One, we'd get kicked out, or two, they'd just let us continue but gave us some warnings. And so on one such occasion, I was approached, and this got escalated to the head of security on site, who I believe was relatively new, but these are contractors, so it's not Tesla employees per se. And so he was saying, no, they can't fly over here. They need permission from the property owner, and we're going to call the sheriff if he continues to fly. And so I packed up my gear. I gave him my phone number. I was very open. I've always shared all my information with security. We want to be on good terms with them. They help us out. We help them. And so when I was about halfway home, I got a phone call from the head of security, and he basically said, cease and desist all flights from here on out, otherwise we'll be calling the sheriff.
Yeah. Now, and to put it into context, it's very unusual for a major company like Tesla building a factory to allow people to go out to fly drones. So these were kind of security that were contracted, and they didn't really know that at the time. So.
Right, and that's normal protocol, standard operating procedures. If you try to go fly over the Samsung build that's happening right now up north, you're going to get the same treatment. You're going to be blocked out. They might even ask for your card, that goes in your camera. So it's usually pretty tight. And so Tesla's a little bit different culturally with that. They don't do any advertising, or haven't done advertising until, I guess, recently. They're going to start. But so things like this are their advertising avenues.
Right.
And so
so in pretty rapid fashion, you reached out to ask for help.
Yeah, in my video that evening, I released it probably about 7, 8 o'clock in the evening with a screen at the very beginning that basically was a plea to viewers, hey, help me Twitter bomb Elon and Tesla on Twitter and get his attention so we can get his approval to fly drones over Giga Texas. And by about 11:30 that same night, Elon he very quickly responded with, I'm cool with drone flights over Giga Texas, just don't get too close to people, don't do anything stupid, basically don't be an idiot, and I'm cool with it.
Right, and ironically, it was on Twitter.
Yes,
for him to do that.
on Twitter. See, Twitter's got all the breaking news, right? But anyway, a gentleman named Alex, I'd like to thank him personally. Thank you, Alex. He's the one who got that screenshot in front of Elon and got us, we did not miss a day here at Giga Texas with the Quad Squad coverage. So,
and then after that, though, the reception here was actually very positive, right?
Yeah, it was we were all buddy-buddy, and, in fact, there was an occasion, which I don't like to admit, but I had an unintentional landing event on the property at Giga Texas, and I did not have access to that property. That's for construction personnel, employees, and contractors only. All right, everybody, happy Thursday to you. And today was an interesting day. We were flying the route earlier, and apparently one of my 5 batteries that I have for the Evo 2 is bad, but it went from 100% down to 20% and then immediately dropped to 0. I was on just about to exit the roof area of Giga Texas, coming down the middle, and the drone landed itself on the roof of Giga Texas. So we've turned Giga Texas into the world's largest drone landing pad. It's an awfully big roof, and so I thought, let's just take a look for ourselves. And so, what is this? Looky here, what do we have here? A little Autel Evo 2. Beautiful. So now we know exactly where it is. This information has been shared with security on site, and they will be retrieving it at their earliest convenience. I'm not, putting any pressure on them because, they have more important things to do. Jeff Roberts coming to you from Giga Texas, and this is the security office behind me. And guess what they found? I am so floored right now. I love Tesla. I wish I had a way to hug the whole company. I just love everything about Tesla. All their people are the most awesome. Thank you so much. And now on with the flight. So I got in touch with security. They located the drone, brought it to the security office, and I was instructed to come meet them there and pick it up. So I went there the next day to pick it up, and security person comes out, hands me the drone, beautiful condition, perfect shape, and they say, you know what, we watch your videos, your Quad Squad, all of your videos. Every day we watch the videos just to have context of the logistics for how we're going to handle things today, because things move around so quickly. We want to make sure we have the pathways and the access ways in case there's an emergency. And I thought that was so awesome. Like, we're here kind of as a third party doing our thing, for the viewers, for investors, for whoever's interested in this footage, but we're also inadvertently kind of helping out a little bit, which feels really good. Right. It's really neat to be, a little part of this whole thing.
Right, and not only did it have a good relationship with the people here on site from security and also some of the Tesla employees, but it actually opened up an avenue to some of the contractors. So tell the viewers a little bit about what were contractors doing out here with drones, and how did this work?
Yeah, so contractors were hired to do survey work and also three-dimensional modeling work. I'm not sure any more detail than that, but they were using much more sophisticated drones and equipment, much more expensive. So there was a concern of in-flight collisions. We wanted to deconflict. So that kind of prompted the beginning of the Quad Squad text stream, where we actually were all able to communicate with each other, because there'd be different spots on the site where we'd fly from, and we didn't know if somebody was over on the other side of the property or not. So we would just text whenever we're flying, whereabouts we're flying, what our altitude will be on average. And so we got some of the contractors in on that loop so that they could preserve their much more expensive drones. And so that kind of started our own little, control tower way of controlling the drone traffic here at Giga Texas. And I can say, to my knowledge, we've never had a drone-to-drone collision.
Nope.
So
no, not at all. Now, speaking about flying the drones, I think Randy and Jack on a different part of these individual videos that you'll see from the Quad Squad, but they mentioned the difficulties and the challenges of flying drones out here. What's your experience about that?
So, well, it got real difficult as soon as they started putting steel up, because we would fly from this kind of unofficial viewing area. And once the steel got too high, the signal between your controller and your aircraft would start having problems around the southeast corner of the building. So my goal, just for time efficiency, was to always find one spot that I could fly from and cover the entire site and do my whole route. So that's when I switched up to the north end entrance ramp from Tesla Road. And that gave me enough altitude to begin with that I could remain connected to my drone over my entire route, which covers, I mean, I don't know how many square miles that is, a few square miles of coverage area.
Yeah, well, usually when I fly out here each day, it's about 15 miles of flying.
Yeah. So how many batteries do you do?
Between 4 and 6, just depending.
Okay, that's more than me. I do 3. I got 20 minutes of battery, so about an hour of flight time.
Yeah. But when you're flying, just the screen size, the conditions, it's a little bit more challenging. Sometimes it's difficult to actually identify what you see while you're flying. You have to go back later.
Oh yeah, and for me, not everybody is blessed like Joe here with eagle vision. And so I've got not only kind of terrible vision, but you've got the sun glare, you've got a little tiny iPhone monitor, you've got bugs, you've got wind, you've got all kinds of mitigating, things happening that will prevent you from focusing on the task at hand. Now, of course, as a drone pilot, your number one focus is on the flight itself and where you are in three-dimensional space, making sure you're staying away from other objects, etc. So, you might be focusing on that and fly right over a Cybertruck, which I did in a video.
I was going to say, you had some after-the-fact, discoveries, if you will, on your video. So tell them a little bit about the Cybertruck discovery.
Well, I call that viewer assist editing, where basically I didn't see it at the time, and the viewers started, commenting, hey, there's Cybertruck in your video. It was like in the drive unit area before it was built together. So it was like this open area that went into this more enclosed factory section. It was this big kind of U. And the Cybertruck was just cruising probably, 50, 60 miles an hour, really fast for that space. And
it was actually used in a video from Tesla, so you may have seen that.
Could have been promotional video of that exact scene. And so when my viewers brought it to my attention, gave me the timestamps, I went back and did a special edit and zoomed way into pixelation level and just released a clip of a few seconds, kind of slowed down a little bit just to get the most time out of it, just so we could see, oh my gosh, that is a Cybertruck. There it is, look at it. I mean, back then it was, that was the holy grail of Giga Texas, drone flights, is if you get the Cybertruck, man, stop what you're doing and just start circling it and, zooming in. And that was my mandate, my self-mandate. If I ever saw it, I'm just gonna stop the route, screw the route, I'm going right to the truck.
Yeah. So. Now that was sometime in the spring, maybe April, maybe May of 2021. So the factory wasn't even a year old at that time, I don't think. Or maybe it was a little later.
Early on.
But what is your thoughts now that you saw that Cybertruck driving through a unfinished factory, and yet now we just got the announcement from Tesla that the first production Cybertruck has been made in this factory. What do you think?
Well, I think prototypes are easy and production is hard. I think it's a huge milestone to have the first, production Cybertruck out of Giga Texas. Would you say it's maybe mostly production, maybe a little hand finish, or what are your feelings on that?
We did get word that beginning of July this month, they were going to be changing some of the shifts around, and they were going to take the swing shift and move them over to the Cybertruck line. That was going to happen after some of the upgrades were done, so that would have put it the end of the first week of July. And at the time of this video, the employees have been on the line for a little more than a week or so now, and I'm sure that they have been doing a lot of training and testing and preparing for that, learning their jobs. So I think there's a little bit of that. So we saw something similar with the Model Y as well here, and you remember when we started first just seeing the Model Y body in whites, and then obviously before that the castings and stuff. And then talk about, there was a very chance meeting we had with actually a Tesla executive almost exactly where we're sitting right now, and this would have been in August of 2021, and it was kind of raining, there was a lot of water here, and he gave us a bombshell about the first Model Y. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember, and he said October.
Yeah.
He said they're going to start coming off the line in October, and we're all just flabbergasted because, I mean, the factory's not built yet. It's a half a factory, but that's how fast Tesla moves, and this is a huge factory, so obviously they can cordon off a good section of it that is equivalent to an entire other auto factory, and it's just a portion of their factory. So that's what was happening. But there was a certain point where I flew around, and there's a virtual parking lot of Model Ys in the factory.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they've been holding out on us,
Exactly.
Tesla. Come on, man. They've been churning these things out, and we didn't even have a clue. And all of a sudden, from one day to the next, Model Ys coming out of the factory. So the question is, are they going to do that for Cybertruck?
I was going to ask, do you think that's what's happening?
I mean, there's room in the factory for that, and that's kind of, maybe the Tesla way, but I mean, I don't know. My gut tells me that we should start seeing trickles of Cybertrucks coming out like any day. If I come out here tomorrow, I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for a new production Cybertruck rolling off the line out of the building, because I think it can happen. I've underestimated Tesla in the past and been wrong, so now I'm just going to go with, I'm going to look for production Cybertrucks starting now.
Well, I hope you're right, because I know there's a lot of people who are very interested in that. So, this is the 3-year anniversary of Giga Texas. We've talked about the early days when it was just kind of dirt, and then sort of not even a year later when we're starting to see something like a Cybertruck, but the factory is still just all in pieces. What are your thoughts on from that point to having the production of Model Ys, the first deliveries, about 8 months after even that point in time?
Yeah, we were doing dirt porn, and then it seemed like less than a year later we've got Model Y production happening.
So they're managing construction and production at the same time.
Yeah.
Isn't that mind-boggling?
Two completely different operations. Yeah, it's an amazing coordinative effort that I think other companies can learn from. Unless Elon takes down all our videos, you can literally watch the Quad Squad videos, and if you know enough about construction and know what you're looking at, you can figure out what's going on here. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's as far as I know, it's pretty unparalleled, especially in a company this size with the products that they're building, to do that. And I'm a project management kind of person, and I just try to imagine what goes into that whole process. And the lessons that they learned here at Giga Texas, I think, are going to be very important to Giga Mexico.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think there is a good comparison between Giga Texas and Giga Mexico. Obviously Tesla learns with each Gigafactory they create, and they get better and faster. And I think Jack alluded to the fact that Elon talks about the factory as a product that has its own iterative scale.
Right.
And so you've got the car iterating, you've got the factory iterating all at the same time, and then with construction, you've got construction iterating. So you've got all this project planning happening on 3 different levels simultaneously. That's pretty amazing. I think there's a lot for other companies to learn about that.
I agree. And now, just thinking about into the future now, construction's not done even on the main building, but we see a huge West Support facility across the highway. We see a lot going on in the east. We've heard about a multi-level garage. We have the cathode plant, the die shop, North Logistics lot, just stuff everywhere. So what do you think is going to happen in the next couple of years here at this site?
Well, we've got over 2,500 square acres of land here, and I can't imagine they bought this entire plot of land just to do the few things that we see being done today. I think that would be like saying, we're the only form of life in the universe. It'd be, a horrific waste of space, right? So it's the same type concept. I think we're going to see Neuralink buildings here. I think we're going to. I think so. I think we're going to see every Elon company, maybe even a Twitter building, maybe some more SpaceX stuff if they run out of capacity in Bastrop. I don't know. I think there's nothing off the table in terms of what can happen at this property, and it makes it very exciting to see what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow, because you never know. With Elon, a decision can be made from one day to the next, and all of a sudden, here's what's happening.
Would it surprise you if sometime in the future, and this is not anything that I know, it's just for the discussion, but in maybe a couple of years they say, hey, we're building another factory here?
That would not surprise me. There's enough space, and I think they could duplicate this floor plan with all the improvements they've learned since then, of course, and do it across the street or up north. There's a ton of space to be able to expand. And you could do a whole Cybertruck factory across the street or up north.
Yeah.
If you want to just really get those millions of orders taken care of quick.
Yeah.
But nothing's off the table.
Yeah, well, and here's another question for you, and it's important because you're a local here, unlike me who comes in from San Antonio. But the effect of Tesla here and some of the satellite companies that are coming in to either directly or indirectly support Tesla, what has this meant for the economy and just this whole area out here?
Well, the economy is absolutely booming even now. You've got new companies that Tesla is engaging contract with that are very drivable. In fact, we drove to a few of them, and they're getting underway. 350,000 square foot buildings being put up just for a single component or two of a Tesla vehicle. So there's infrastructure, support infrastructure coming into this area, which brings in jobs, which brings in housing. And it's just good for the entire area, and we've really seen a boom in this area, and you can certainly see it in the real estate prices and the commercial real estate prices, which you can't say about a large part of the country right now.
So, with growth, there's positives and negatives, but you see on the whole it's a very positive?
I think it is a positive. Obviously there's growing pains that are going to happen between a city, between an area, between the inhabitants. Where you get traffic jams where there never were traffic jams or what have you, and people are ready to blame the big corporation that came in and changed everything. But Tesla, I believe culturally as a company, is really sensitive to these exact type of things, which is why things like the Ecological Paradise is such an important project. It won't be done soon, but...
Remind the viewers, what is that?
So that's basically going to be like a park where... folks can come in from the area around here, and you don't have to have special access. It's going to have trees and birds singing in trees and water, maybe part of the Colorado River, and walkways and little, picnic areas perhaps. We don't have too much detail on it, but it's going to be a really nice feeling area. And so Tesla with that is basically saying, hey, we're inviting the community to be part of what we're doing here. And I think that's a really important distinction when looking at what these corporations do and how they kind of take over towns and make their demands. Tesla seems to merge in and blend in very beautifully with the areas that they go into, which is awesome.
I know there's a lot of people looking forward to that. We're just not sure when it's going to happen. You mentioned there's a lot of details we don't know, but recently we did hear that the priority is on the building and the production until they do the ecological paradise. Can't say that very easy.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tesla, and just being responsible to shareholders, is going to be focused on things that feed the bottom line. The eco paradise is not such a thing, although from a cultural standpoint, I think it's important for the Tesla message in the community saying, hey, we invite you here to the factory to see what's going on here. We got nothing to hide. It's all good. It's all clean. And you can enjoy these pathways and these relaxing areas. Bring your family and really enjoy it. So I think that's going to be a nice icing on the cake feature of Giga Texas, but I don't think we're going to see it anytime in the near future.
Yeah. Well, this is the 3-year anniversary of construction. I think we've talked a lot about, your personal memories and a lot of the various things that have happened throughout the time here. And it's just been an amazing 3 years. And I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to come back out here. I know you're out here a lot, but also just on the behalf of the viewers and the Tesla community for all the things that you've done. You've been doing this for 3 years. The better part of that, over 2 years, every day, literally every day. That's an amazing commitment, and just thank you very much for that. And again, for coming out and sharing your thoughts. I think it's outstanding. And he, as I mentioned, does have a website. I'll put that information here on the screen, and I definitely recommend you take a look at that. A lot of historical and even current videos of what's going on here. But for the final last word, just your final thoughts for the viewers?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, Joe, thank you so much for bringing this Quad Squad reunion together. This has been really an awesome and enjoyable afternoon. And I just would encourage anybody who is in the vicinity, or even if you're not in the vicinity of Giga Texas,
come by and see it with your own eyes. No matter how many of our videos you watch, you're never going to get the feeling inside that you get when you look at this place firsthand with your own eyes. It is truly an amazing creation of human hands, and it's something to behold. So I would really encourage you, and thank you so much to the viewers of all the Quad Squad channels. You guys are the reason we're here and able to continue to do this. And we appreciate you so much, and we will see you soon.
Yes, well, thank you again for watching. Thank you, Jeff, and I hope you have a great day. Take care, everybody.